a So hi everyone, my name is Tara Short. I'm the founder and CEO of Green Adventures Tours, and tonight we're going to talk about the winter wolves and wildlife safari that we do in the winter. And here with us tonight is to talk more about that is Lori Anderson, your trip leader, and Nathan Varley, who is the owner and operator. One of he's actually our partner in Yellowstone, and so I want to take a moment for those of you who don't know me. Again, I'm Tara Short. I own Green Adventures Tours. I basically I've created tours that I love and hopefully attract people to want to do those exact same things. And we've traveled everywhere from Baja, Mexico to Greenland to Africa, and a lot of those tours were wish lists because of I wanted big animal encounters. And a few years ago, I was talking to a friend who actually during COVID. So this Winter Wolves and Wildlife Safari Tour is a COVID inspired trip. So when the whole world was shut down, I was thinking, what in the world, what can we do locally here in the United States? And one of my friends who's a wildlife biologist, she said, you should go see the wolves in Yellowstone. And believe it or not, at that point, I hadn't even been to Yellowstone. I thought it was an overrated park. I know it's sacrilegious. I'm sorry that I even said that, but I was like, oh, it's so crowded. I just pictured, lots of cars and a few animals. So boy, was I wrong. But what led into, so I researched a program, contacted a local partner, and set up a tour for that was January of 2021. And along the way, I was reading a book called Beyond Words, What Animals Think and Feel. And it's by Carl Safina. And in the book, he highlights certain animal groups and their emotional intelligence. And the elephants elephants in Kenya are highlighted. Chimpanzees and bonobos are highlighted. The wolves of Yellowstone are highlighted, and some orca whales, a pot of orca whales in the San Juan Islands. And I was captivated by how the author actually was talking to local scientists. And Rick McIntyre was one of the local scientists in Yellowstone who spent his life identifying, studying the wolves in the park. And he told their stories. And immediately I was like, I was hooked. So I love that when I go on Nathan's tour and his guides are driving us around the park, and and she's revealing the stories about wolves in that area, or revealing the stories about other individual wildlife. So I felt really, really connected and empowered to want to make a difference for not just wolves, but the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. So that's kind of why I'm passionate about this fantastic trip. And Lori Anderson is the trip leader. So with all of our trips, we work with local partners who are the local experts, and we have trip leaders who help with the on-site logistics and also answer your questions before you actually go on the tour. So they provide the pre-trip and on-site support. So Lori, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and why you're excited to go on the Yellowstone trip?
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Lori Anderson. I am super excited about this trip. I first got to Yellowstone as a teenager, long time ago, and fell in love with it then. What I was amazed about the most about Yellowstone at that time is there was so much diversity in even though it's a big park, so much diversity in a small area. There's the hot springs area, there's the America's Little Serengeti area, there's the canyon area, there's the big lake, and it was like crazy that all these huge differences were in one area. And so I have been back numerous times throughout the years. And last year I became a Yellowstone master naturalist. And that has been amazing and fun. Fun time to spend that kind of time in Yellowstone and do the kind of behind the scenes kind of information. The wolves and the story of bringing the wolves back in Yellowstone is amazing. And I just look forward to you learning all about that. It's crazy amazing.
Lori, I wish I could go on the tour with you, actually. And Dr. Nathan Varley. Nathan, do you want to introduce yourself and talk about the place you love?
Absolutely. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Nathan Varley, and I'm talking to you from Gardner, Montana, which is the north entrance to Yellowstone Park. Yellowstone is such a big park. It has all these different entrances that happen to be in different states like Montana and Wyoming. And the north end is kind of the low elevation end of the park. Our area is more of a dry grassland. It's a little bit deserty, even right around Gardner itself, and the Yellowstone River comes through, and a tiny little town of 500 people that live on the banks of the river here, and that's the north entrance to Yellowstone, and will be the place where you would visit on this tour. It's a great base of operations, particularly in the winter, because you have great access to the park, especially the part of the park that has the most wildlife activity going on in it. That's pretty much true year round, but it's especially true in winter. And I actually am a native of this area, so to speak. I grew up here in the Yellowstone area and became a wildlife biologist. My parents actually are both National Park Service people that did their careers in Yellowstone Park. So a lot of deep roots here for me, and live here year round now, and do these kinds of programs with folks year round. And wildlife is definitely a passion for sure, and it's hard not to be when you live around Yellowstone and you have basically just this amazing piece of the Rocky Mountain ecosystem that's been preserved. It's really intact if you think about all the species that were once here that are still here now. I mean, we're really not not missing any. One notable one is actually the whooping crane, one of the birds. But other than that, we have grizzly bears and gray wolves, and we have the largest herd of wild bison left in the United States in Yellowstone Park. And so you can go to some of these places, we'll take you, and there'll be literally thousands of bison roaming in these big herds, even in the winter, which is amazing to see. In fact, one of the things that a lot of people come here for, kind of the bucket list or on their checklist, is like, oh, I want a picture of a wild bison that's covered in snow, because under the right conditions, if it's been snowing or it's kind of wet or their faces have been down in the snow, then they can kind of come up caked in snow, and they just look completely different. They look like some other beast altogether. So um,
A
that's
frosty bison.
yeah, a frosty bison. It's just kind of a neat photo op for many people with the wildlife, and we see the bison every day. Um, so that's just a little bit about me, and I could kind of talk about the format a little bit of what a program here is all about.
Yeah, but I also want to
Yeah.
point out, I feel like guys like you, I don't talk about how amazing you are. I like because you're one of the pioneers also in the wolf reintroduction. You're a part of the wolf reintroduction when they were bringing the gray wolves. You have been studying those wolves of your adult life, and
Yeah.
so you're invested in just you're not just invested in like taking people around. You are part of the history of Yellowstone, and then you're also working towards its legacy. You're trying to preserve it. So that's why I like working with you and your team. Just so everyone knows that.
Right. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And because of that long history here, we've been here for a while, and in fact, as was mentioned, there's a fascinating story about the reintroduction of gray wolves to the Yellowstone area. It was kind of one of the few spots that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service decided, like, hey, we're going to put wolves back in here to recover the population throughout the Rockies. And they did very well in Yellowstone. That was in the 90s, and my wife Linda and I both initially as volunteers helped out as biologists on the project, and that evolved into the many things that we kind of do today, including pioneering some of the ecotourism activities. Yeah, I mean, going back to your first impression about Yellowstone, it's like, oh yeah, it is kind of a busy place, really crowded in the summertime, and a lot of people are coming to see geysers and waterfalls and that kind of thing. There really wasn't a lot of programs for wildlife. There wasn't guiding for wildlife before the wolf reintroduction. And another thing happened to coincide with that too, which is grizzly bear recovery. We won't talk a lot about bears because they're actually hibernating for a winter program. So it's very unlikely we will actually see them in February. But with wolves and grizzly bears back on the landscape, a whole industry was sort of born. And now there's this guiding that's more safari style in Yellowstone. And literally that didn't exist before, before about 2000 or so. And so we've been on the cusp of that and developing these fun programs that are just so rewarding for everyone involved with them. But the idea is to go out and find these animals. There are not a lot of wolves out there. That's just the nature of wolves. They don't proliferate to become like a common animal that you see all the time. They live in packs like family units, and they roam big areas and they defend those big areas from other wolves. So there's only so many that can actually live in a space out there. But along our route that we take in the winter, there can be 4 or 5 different packs that we could run into that we're familiar with. And so that's kind of the start of it, is we kind of have an idea of what packs live where they typically show up, where we're going to find them. And maybe your first question is like, well, how hard is this? Do you have to like walk, 19 miles into the wilderness through snow in order to find wolves? And the surprising answer to that is no. We search a huge area and we look over, this amazing landscape full of other wildlife to find wolves, but we do that generally from the roadside. So the roads give us excellent access to wolf habitat and other wildlife habitat. We know where to stop. We know where to look. If we're watching them, we're usually outside a vehicle, which is great, but we're generally pretty close to the road. We might have climbed a small hill to get a better vantage, but generally speaking, we're near the road. And we use optics extensively. So this is like, I'm sure many of you have been on a lot of programs. You bring your binoculars if you want to see the wildlife. That's true in Yellowstone. But we also have high-powered spotting scopes, which allow us to look over long distances. And it's fair to tell you that our average sighting for a wolf is like a half a mile away. It can be really interesting and exciting to see their behavior at that distance, because you don't usually disturb them when you're that far away, and you get to see their actual lives play out as they naturally would, undisturbed by human presence. And so the upside of that is that, like, yeah, you get to see what wolves really do. They're not necessarily reacting to you. Occasionally we see them up close and they may react to you, and that's exciting too. It's just a lot more rare and sometimes very short-lived. Like, they don't stick around, and you don't get to see a lot more behavior like we do. So we travel these roadsides looking for wolves every day. We have pretty good success probability, especially in winter. I think
what I love is how fast your guides can set up scopes.
That's
that's also it's like a military exercise. They'll be driving around. I'm going to talk about Michelle, because Michelle was our guide, and so she knows a ton of information. So she's talking about everything, right? And she's talking, and then occasionally she'll hear something on a radio, because they're communicating with other guides and like rangers in the park, right? So they find out that there's a sighting. So we drive to that pullout. They get out, and the scopes go up. By the time everyone is out of the vehicle, she's got scopes up pretty much. And there's the enlistment of some help. We eventually get to help set up scopes too, but she's super fast. And then I don't know about you, but when I set up a scope, I'm like looking all over the place. And these guides are like, bam, they know exactly where to point it, look in, and then it's so amazing, because you are, like, as Nathan said, like watching these lives unfold. It doesn't feel like it's that far away. It's like, and then also they have the ability to like record. You could put your phone up. I think Michelle might have had an adapter so you can record it. So later on, when you're sharing your pictures about your Yellowstone experience, you're like, look at the wolf I saw, and here's what it was doing. So you have a way to record and share that too, which is neat. But it's for
Exactly.
all sorts of other wildlife as well. But definitely great for the wolves. Yeah, so that's what I like about like also having a guide. If I was by myself out there, I would be just watching the cars pull over, get like, what are you looking at? But
Yeah.
here you're getting the full service and someone telling you in real time about these animals. And then if they don't know the particular animal that they're seeing, if it's got a collar on it, they know who to call. They can submit the information, and later on, you're going to know all the details about that particular animal.
Right, right. It's still a very well-studied wolf population. A lot of scientists working out there. So we often have a lot of inside information on the, the wolves that we're seeing, certainly on the packs, and a lot of the individuals within that might have an exciting history to share with you. So, it's one of the most observed, probably the most observed set of wolf packs in the entire world, really, because of the amount of interest and observation occurring in Yellowstone. And they're still very wild. They still make a living by killing elk and deer and bison, and that's what they do. So they live a real wolf life out there. No no shortcuts about that. But they also interact with humans, but to a lesser degree, because a lot of times we're just watching from a distance, and they're going about their business in the wild.
When we are in these parking lots with the scope set up or these pull-offs, there are fangirl moments. And Lori, well, it's like, as I know this feeling, Lori, well, because it's not just tourists. There's like the experts are there. And if you read it, if you read the books, or you start if you start doing deeper dive into investigating, you might run into some of your environmental heroes. And Lori, you ran into an environmental hero.
I did. I ran into a couple of times. I've run into and to Rick McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the guy who has like studied the wolves in Yellowstone. I forget the years, over 25 years at this
Right.
point.
Right.
And he's amazing. Very soft spoken, and yet a wealth of knowledge. He's eager to share that knowledge. He wants everybody to fall in love with wolves as much as he has. And yeah, it was an absolute thrill to meet him. Yeah. He shared with me like a paw print that he had from one of the alpha females, like let me hold it. And, it was a imprint and stuff like that. And it was just amazing. Yeah. It was absolute, like Tara says, fangirl moment. Like,
It was pretty cool. The first time I knew he was there, I didn't want to go. I'm like, I can't even go say hello. I was like, I just can't be that person. And the second time I was like, I gotta go say hi to him. It just felt like I needed to. So I one of wolves and Rick McIntyre, box check.
yeah. And again, like the second time I met him, I took a set of his books and got them signed for one of our other trip leaders. Wanted to give it to as a Christmas gift to her husband, and I was like, "Oh, can you sign these?" And he was more than willing to, help out. Yeah.
And Rick should be out there. I mean, barring anything that happens to him.
Yeah, no promises. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I just love though that it's such a small community. It's like it's a small world in this area.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he goes out every day and will continue to his whole life. So yeah, there's a chance that each and every day we're out in this winter that he'll be out there with us. So
Do you have any pictures to show us how amazing Yellowstone is in the winter, like to inspire some people? Because I think some people are just not winter people, and I know, like, we can't deny the fact that it's going to be cold. It's a cold time of year. And I mean, Nathan, what you want to throw the temps out? Like, what's an air temp in the morning?
this is hard to plan for because we get such wild swings, but it's good to be prepared for frigid conditions. Like
Mhm.
you could get a cold snap where it's well below zero. And so we do have, these recommendations for big jackets and big boots and hats and gloves, the works.
Yeah.
If it happens to be a lot warmer, if it happens to be above freezing that day, which does happen to us in the winter, we get these wild swings, then fine, you can take some of those layers off. But if you don't have them, then, and it is super cold, it can be somewhat miserable. That's not to say you'll be stuck out in it. We have these warm vehicles to retreat to, but yeah, the preparedness for winter in Yellowstone is to go, yeah, be ready for some pretty cold, well below zero temperatures. And hopefully we don't get those the week you're here, but
yeah,
it's always possible.
Right. And anybody who's ever been on a Green Adventures tours knows that we have a very extensive packing list. And we always want people to feel prepared for any experience. And layering is key to everything. A good wool, synthetic wool base layer, insulating layers, and a waterproof outer layer, windproof outer layer is key. And so we will give you a detailed packing list and help you if you have any questions about that. But what I want people to do is come prepared to be outside, because Yellowstone in the winter is it's a wonderland. I mean, like it's like it could be anything from, you get the hoarfrost. Is it hoarfrost? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even just a bluebird sky day with like ice crystals, or like, yeah, like hard snow surface. It's like, and the air is clean and it's quiet. I don't think people ever know what that kind of quiet sounds like until they're in a wilderness setting like that. And the way the mountain air, fills your lungs. So like, and then, yeah, because a lot of times we get picked up before sunrise going into the park. And I mean, it's like you watch the sunrise in Yellowstone National Park and the sunset as you're ending your day.
Good. Yeah, it's key to get out first thing in the morning, obviously for wildlife activity, but because it's winter and it's a northern latitude, it's usually like 6 or 6:30 or something like that we're leaving, and it's still dark, just the nature of it. So it's not super extreme in terms of the wake up call.
Sure.
One of the nice
So,
things about winter. In the summer, it's like 4:30 in the morning, but
yeah.
in the winter, it's like 6:30. Pretty
So
nice.
do you want to share your screen? Do you have some photos you want to share?
Sure, I can throw a few here. I was just looking at a couple that is kind of fun to show, and I'm going to do that. Share screen. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. And I'll do that one. Okay. Let me just throw this out there. Good. Like I said, there's a number of wolf packs that we're familiar with on the Northern Range, and they can vary from 4 or 5 individuals to 18 to 25 or something like that. And right now we have wolf packs in this whole range, and each group is kind of a family group, and they're really made up of blacks and grays, as you can kind of see from this one aerial photograph. The grays are a little bit lighter colored. The blacks are really dark colored. And it's just one of their genetic traits. We could go into a lot of detail about how interesting it is to whether a wolf turns out to be black or gray, but it doesn't really tell you much other than it's an identifying characteristic. It's like, oh, we know the lead female of this pack is a gray, and her mate is a big black male, and that kind of thing. There's some packs we see more often than others out there. Another thing I would say about wolves in the winter is like, hey, this is their season. Like, other wildlife are struggling to get through winter, but because these other wildlife are struggling and they're prey for wolves are doing great. Like winter is their time. They're in their big full coat. They look kind of scraggly in the summer because they're shedding their coat, but in the winter they just look strikingly beautiful. And they basically roam more in the valley bottoms where the roads are, where we are, in the winter more than any other season. So that's what helps us find them in the winter too, is that their distribution is more restricted and a little more predictable in the winter. Last thing I'd say about wolves in the winter is they are very vocal. The time you're most likely to hear them howl. And I definitely get people that like, oh, the one thing I want most is to hear wolves howling in the wild. And we get that. We get that sometimes. And if that's a goal of yours, I'd say winter is the best season because they just howl more frequently. They're together as a group more often, and that happens.
Nathan,
Nathan,
tell us
I
which one
just
that
want to
was.
say that
Oops.
that for me, the first time I heard a wolf howl was in a Yellowstone, and it was a rally. We get to hear them actually have like a rally, and it's it was just it's so primal. So I really do hope that anybody who goes, if you don't see a wolf, that you at least hear wolves, because it makes you feel really connected to wilderness.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes our challenge is actually hearing them when we're actually when we can see them, because this might be windy or noisy for some reason, and it's so faint you can't hear it. But generally speaking, that if we find them and they howl, then we get to hear it, which is a real treat. There's some areas in the northern range of Yellowstone that don't get as much snow. It's because we're kind of in the drier, lower elevation part of Yellowstone. It could also be a thermal area because Yellowstone is this big volcano and it's famous for its hot springs and geysers and whatnot. Some of which we will see along the way. But wolves kind of show up in some of these areas that are not as winter wonderland as you're expecting, that they travel through all kinds of varied habitats. One of the topics we definitely talk about is the ecology of wolves. They interact with so many different species, and we mentioned that like, oh, it's not just about wolves. We're going to bump into a lot of fun animals, and there's a chance that you'll see, like I said, bison, but elk, mule deer, white-tailed deer, pronghorn antelope, bighorn sheep, moose. And those are just the ungulates. And if you're interested in birds, there's not an incredible diversity in the winter because they migrate. Many species migrate out of the area, but the residents in the winter are fascinating. And you see a lot of ravens, bald eagles, golden eagles, a lot of the jay family, like Clark's nutcrackers, gray jays, stellar jays, that kind of thing, magpies. So if you're into birds, there's some fun bird activity there. But we talk a lot about the ecological restoration of Yellowstone having its top predator restored, and all of the effects of its predation on other aspects of the ecosystem are really fascinating. Ongoing studies that tell us more and more about this. It's a pretty complex topic to really delve a lot into, but it's basically talking about the role wolves play in these communities, which is fascinating. And one of those, of course, is a major predator. Probably the only place you can go in the world today to see wolves interact with the biggest prey species that they have in the world, bison, is Yellowstone Park. It really is. So this, primal dance of predator and prey has been restored with the reintroduction of wolves, and we now occasionally see wolves testing bison. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to see that, and usually they don't get them. So it's an interesting drama to see play out, but they're successful sometimes, and you might come out first thing in the morning and they're eating on a carcass that they got during the night or something like that. But truly, wolves are predators, and they are fascinating to watch when they're interacting either with bison or elk or any of the other wildlife out there. So just a couple of fun shots about them chasing bison. And sometimes the bison are so tough that they just turn around and face the wolves, and the wolves all back up like they don't want to get hurt by the bison, which they can. One of the top ways that wolves die in the wild around here are they're killed by their own prey, which is obviously, like a hard way to make a living. You can have to attack an animal that can kill you in return. So I think that's just a handful of fun ones that I have here, and a
Well,
few
it's
other.
so interesting. It is definitely one of those like I don't know if I want to see, you know, something get killed. I don't mind in the next day like seeing the carcass. But it's like when you
Right.
go on safari, you know, like it's just life, and it's sometimes it's just hard to really it's like these animals are out there working, they're surviving, and we're watching the drama unfold, but it's survival for them. And yeah, so that I think that is, you know, pretty amazing to be when we get to witness either a like a hunt or even just like behaviors interacting, you know, with each other. One of the things that I thought I would do is I'll share. um I made a video last year. Oops, wrong one. Let's see, let's try
It's a
this.
little bit like Yellowstone.
Yeah. Let's see here. Do you see me? Is it
Yeah.
okay? Great. Well, you see, like me in like it's gonna be a video, right? Is that what you? Okay, good. So I made a video last year about like my time in Yellowstone. I had big ideas that I was gonna create all these blogs. This vlog took me like weeks, so I stopped making them. But I'll send you the link so you can watch all 17 minutes on your own. But it does go through you like I let me get you to a point where just kind of like what the scenes look like. You know, we don't just sit in a car the whole time. We do stop and like get out at Mammoth Hot Springs. We do go on we take a walk on a trail to a canyon that was an ancient coral reef. Here's Mammoth Hot Springs, a geothermal area. And Michelle, like, you know, did a nice walk on this and talked to us about each of the different hot springs, and about the bacteria that live in the hot springs. And so look how what a beautiful day, you know, this is. It's a winter wonderland, but you can see how people are dressed. You know, we all have buffs over our faces, and we're wearing layers, hats with hoods, and thick winter boots with a thick sole to help keep you insulated from the cold ground. And let's see, I just saw. So this is where we were. We saw some. I think these might be antelope. Oh, this is dinner time. So we will go out to eat the first night. We'll go out to eat, and then we also go back to Nathan's facility, and we have dinner there. But this is like kind of like a typical get up in the morning, go look for wolves. And you see this day is kind of like cloudy and overcast. And I think I even tell you what the temperature is here. But what I want to show you here in a second is are the scopes that are set up for us. I'm scooting. Oh, -40. So, so don't let that freak you out. Look, I'm still alive. But look, for the most part, it's pleasant. You know, it's a deep winter experience. I'm telling it like it is. And so here are the scopes. All the scopes are set up. This is looking out. Is this Lamar Valley? Uh, okay, yeah. So Lamar Valley. You know, we may or may not have seen whales. I said whales. That's funny. Seen wolves at that point. But is this our breakfast? This was like our morning breakfast, right? Yeah, set out a breakfast with hot coffee and hot water for tea. So this is kind of the view. But then let's see, like some of the animals that we saw, like there's moose and elk, and we saw a bobcat. And this is a walk in one of the canyons here. It's just really beautiful to just get out. And then there's bison everywhere as you're driving along, and animals crossing the road. So lots of opportunities for animal photography. And then we have evening classroom, like evening workshops with whether it be I think these were wolf scientists who were talking about like tracking wolves in the park. This is another early morning that I was talking about how we wanted to go see wolves. Now, this is the snow coach day. So the snow coach is not included, but it's an optional add-on, and I highly recommend it. And so it could be one of us or all of you take the snow coach in, and it's a way to get into like Yellowstone's interior because all the roads are closed. The only way to get there is like cross-country skiing, snowmobile, or by snow coach. And this is how you get close to like some of the geothermal areas and the geyser, Old Faithful geyser. And it's also where we end up seeing a wolf too. Nathan, do you have anything you want to see? I've kind of like, feel free to jump in on anything I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's some pretty accessible hot springs areas from the main road that you see, but in the winter, really the only way to get to some of the most famous ones is to do the snow coach, and it's a fun like all day excursion in this big tired vehicle that gets you to these places that you're seeing now. So if it's on your list to like, oh, I would love to see Old Faithful go off or see some of these other famous hot springs areas, then that's a great add-on to kind of see Yellowstone in the winter when it's just snowed over, but the hot springs make it, so it's an unworldly place.
What I loved about going to see Old Faithful in the winter was that I broke snow. I was the first person to go stand I was the first one that morning to go stand there to be in to wait, for Old Faithful to go off. And it was just nobody was around. And if you've been there in the summer, there's like 20, 30, 40 deep, all around the visitor area. So it was neat to kind of feel like I had Old Faithful to myself. So during this snow coach day, there was talk of wolves, that there might be potential to see wolves too. And Michelle was with us because the whole group went. And so she was pointing out different tracks. These are bobcat tracks. So I don't remember the name of this canyon. Do you know this one? Firebox or something like that?
It could be the Firehole Canyon.
Firehole Canyon. I think that's what it was.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Okay, so then this is where, like, when you watch the video, this is where the drama ensues. So I'm talking about how we spotted we thought we saw a coyote, and it turned out there was actually a wolf. Oh no, it was coyotes then a wolf came out and chased it. That's what happened here. So there we go. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's a big dog. And we got to watch it. We got to watch it, and it actually ran across the road. And the day before, we had just learned about wolves and how they aren't that it's important that they stay afraid of people, and because wolves that get too close can get into trouble. So it was a perfect segue to the lesson that we learned that night before, and seeing them kind of get close enough but stay far enough away from us. So I think this is a good kind of summary in a nutshell of my experience, and I'll send you the link so you can watch the whole thing if you want to. Good. So does anybody have any questions? Now we'll take a moment to let those of you who are here, if you want to chime in and ask any questions about the tour. Or use the chat. You're welcome to use the chat also, if you don't want to talk. While you are thinking of questions, I do want to show you how, if you want to sign up on the tour, how you do so. Now, the tour is confirmed, so that's good news. So all you have to do is sign up, and the tour is on. Those of you who have been on Green Adventures tours before, you know that we usually we need to reach critical mass, and we have done that. So I want to show you how to. Okay, are we looking at Green Adventures website? Yes, I think we are. So you go to greenadventures.com and you click on women's tours, and down here, click on the Yellowstone tour, and it pops up to We Travel. And you just click book now, and that's pretty much it. And then you can see what the package prices if you want to upgrade to a single room, and then you can pay in installments. There's 2 more installments left over. So you pay your deposit, and then you have 2 more installments before the trip is, before you paid in full. And there is details about about everything, but there's also the packing list on here, and a very detailed packing list. And tells you, exactly what you need. And if you have any questions about any of these things, we're happy to help you, shop. And I always tell people, you don't need to have the best or the brand new. You can have friends who live in northern climates lend you things, or you can go to Goodwill and buy secondhand. It's just function over fashion. That's why we want you to stay. We just want you to stay warm, so you can enjoy your time outside. And then since the trip is now confirmed, we're going to be sending out a confirmation letter, and in that letter it gives you your travel parameters. So what time to arrive. This trip starts and ends in Bozeman, and so you get to and I don't know what the travel parameters are right off the top of my head, sorry, but you'll fly to Bozeman. You're just going to spend the night at an airport hotel that's included in the package, and you'll meet your trip leader there. We will do dinner either there or off site, but we'll organize that. And then the next day, our guide will pick you guys up, and you'll head to Yellowstone, and you're going to stay in Gardner for is it 4 nights that you stay in Gardner? Yeah. So yep. So you stay 4 nights in Gardner, and that's a good base just outside of the park. And you'll be doing your adventures every morning. You'll be in good hands with them. And each day, your trip leader and your guide will talk to you that evening about how to be prepared for the next day and what the plan is for the next day.
Any other questions? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I love Yellowstone. I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you all too. I wish I could go. I will live vicariously through your photos. So no other questions then? Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. And then also, Nathan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about the wolves and about the program. I'm a huge fan, as you know, and my participants love your program too. So I'm looking forward to hearing hearing them tell their stories and be inspired by Yellowstone and your guides.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Well, this was fun.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to stop recording. So if there's any other questions, I can take them after this, but anybody who's listening, looking forward to connecting with you, and feel free to reach out to us at greenedventures.com. That's Tara, T-A-R-A, at green like the color, E like education, DVENTURES.com. Tara at greenedventures.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.